At the beginning of April, we saw a lot of projects make some sideways moves and see some consolidation after ending out March on an absolute tear. One of those projects was Fetch, an undervalued gem that saw nearly a 40% correction after people sold the news of the launch of the mainnet 2.0. So, what can we expect to see from Fetch here in the near future? My name's Shill Squad. Today we're going to be going over the basics and what the Fetch project covers for some of you newcomers. I'm going to go over some fundamentals and obviously some technical analysis and price predictions for Fetch here in the upcoming months. So without further ado, let's start shilling. All right, to start off with some market overview on coin market cap, you have the overall market cap at 1.96 trillion. Obviously good to see us riding up on that $2 trillion level. Hopefully in the next few days or by next week, we can flip that $2 trillion level and turn it into support. This is going to be huge as we enter altcoin season. Bitcoin down to 55% dominance. So as the market cap continues to rise, Bitcoin dominance continues to drop. The face melting gains are going to be upon us. Everybody knows XRP has been on a little bit of a tear, taking up the number 4 spot. Still has a bit to run before it even hits Binance Coin. Cardano continuing to lose a little bit of footing. It has been sitting at this $1.20 to $1.15 region for a really long time, just continuing to consolidate and crab walk across the charts. We have our baby Theta. Theta is Godzilla holding down the number 11 spot. Hopefully we see a flip of the 9 and 10 spot. We will come for Uniswap. You best believe that. We're still seeing some consolidation, but we're hitting some upwards movement as we have kind of, in my opinion, we've ended the consolidation period and Theta is starting to test some resistance and fall to new higher support levels. But jumping into Fetch, which is why you all came here, I'm assuming, we have Fetch has kind of pushed out of a little bit of a lull it saw last night. Saw some pretty intense dips, but has bounced off some support lines. We'll get into that a little bit later in the technical analysis, but we are holding the 70-cent range for right now. So for all of you that are new to FET, what is it? We're going to go over a little bit of an overview real quick. Fetch.ai is a Cambridge-based artificial intelligence lab that has developed autonomous software agents to perform useful economic work on behalf of individuals, machines, businesses, and organizations. Fetch.ai's network is based around open source technology and gives users access to the power of AI on a world-scale secure dataset. This is meant to carry out complex coordination of tasks in the modern economy. The platform is powered by its native token FET, which acts as a primary medium of exchange across the Fetch ecosystem and a range of FET applications designed by the Fetch.ai team. So looking at the fundamentals, FET is a strong project that looks to tackle a lot of issues. But does FET have real-world use case, and what is FET used for? Well, the truth is, now that we're on the mainnet 2.0, Fetch actually has a lot of use case and a ton of utility. If we do look at their website to get an idea of the use case, it'll kind of give us an overview of what industries they're involved in and what issues they aim to tackle. So to give you some examples, it can be used for optimum route planning for the transportation industry. Health sectors can use FET by training the AI on a patient's diagnosis. The AI then learns data that's fed into the algorithm, and in turn, it improves the speed and accuracy of future patient diagnosis for learned conditions. It can also be used by energy providers to increase grid efficiency and reduce user costs and save power. And in the crypto world, it can be used to provide added liquidity and lower costs for DeFi. Those are just a few of the examples. Additionally, FET aims to solve efficiency issues in the travel and hotel industry, delivery services, public transit, public parking grids, traffic congestion, supply chains, electric vehicle infrastructure, smart homes, and online publications. So we can see they have quite the large grasp over a ton of different industries. So it's pretty much limitless potential, and they have a ton of versatility. So in addition to FET's long list of use case, they've also partnered up with some pretty big brands. Brands like Bosch, Besto, Telecom, which is a T-Mobile subsidiary, Binance, Fireblocks, Waves, and Anchor, just to name a few. Not to mention, FET also recently acquired $5 million from GDA Group for research and development of FET's existing applications, as well as projects in the pipeline. So, this is going to be huge for bringing FET's AI blockchain based applications to commercialization. Once we have commercialization, we'll start seeing adoption. Once we see adoption, we have more cash flow as the product is more widely used. So while news of partnerships like Bosch and Festo, as well as the $5 million they had received in funding, may not necessarily be the newest of news, and they don't have a lot of new groundbreaking information coming out in the very immediate short term, I do have to say I'm still very bullish on FET because they built a strong product, and now they can start focusing on more mainstream adoption. So the short of the long of it being, I'm bullish on FET because it has real world use case. And on top of that, it has untapped versatility. It can help any company improve in the one area they all can improve on, and that's efficiency. So without further ado, let's now move into the technical analysis part where we can look at some price predictions and where we can think that FET will fall here in the short-term future. So here we are on the daily chart for FET, where we're going to kind of lay the groundwork on where we're headed. There's some good trend lines that we've created over time that are going to really either make or break us for the end of the month. That might be a little bit dramatic, but they're definitely going to dictate where we go and what kind of price action we see. So from now on, just as a heads up, I'm going to use this key at the beginning of all my TAs. That way new people understand why I use different colors and what they all mean. Resistance levels are going to be red. Support levels are going to be blue. When we break a resistance and we test it, the red line will turn blue, indicating its support. If we break the resistance and never come back down to test it, it's going to be untested support and it'll be the blue and red dashed line, and trend lines are going to be the yellow dotted lines. So let's jump into our trend lines. So we have this high we hit back in August that laid out the groundwork for some of these really big price spikes that we saw. The more important line that I see here is going to be this lower resistance line right here. The upper resistance line, a lot of this price action up here is FOMO into the mainnet 2.0. It's not good organic price action that we've seen. Obviously, this rise is partially going to be due to that, but it's over a long term, and a lot of the people that got in on these earlier weeks leading up to mainnet were probably more long-term holders and didn't completely dump their bags. Whereas, it obviously started generating a lot of social media buzz, and you had a lot of people buying right here that just sold up at the top. So this line, we have a lot more touch points on, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to break this line than it is going to be to break this upper resistance line. Now, back on about the 17th of January, we had a few touch points right here indicating this was resistance. We broke it, tested it, confirmed the support, and since then we've now broken back down and it's turning into resistance. Our current support line is going to be this lower line right here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 confirmed touch points. We have a couple down here that are pretty close. So this is going to show me that this is like our shoulder to cry on, that we're going to really rely on for support after we reject some of these upper resistance points. Now, if we open up our lateral trend lines, you can see we have a lot of touch points down here confirming this is strong support. We had some resistance up here, broke it, flipped it into support again, and then up here we have a lot of support right here where after rejecting this at the time all-time high of 70, was about 75 cents, we broke down and found a lot of support down here on this 57-cent line, and this is what we have recently rebounded off pretty hard, indicating to me that we are ending this consolidation period after the end of March. For me, the 73-cent range, we just have a lot of wicks coming up here. And up here is going to be our highest green candle, which is going to be like our positive price action closing. So this is going to show me a lot more resistance than maybe picking up some of these wicks up here. Furthermore, as we break more into here, we have this resistance band where we saw a lot of the FOMO price action leading to the all-time high of 88 cents right before the dump. So this is going to be a little bit more of a band for me just because there's a lot of chatter up here. And you can see that as we move into the 4 hour, you can see we bounced in here quite a bit. But the top of this box for me is going to be, once again, a lot more of a strong indicator of resistance than just up here where we hit an all-time high, because this is all people just quick flipping for a quick profit versus a lot of this more organic price action for FET just being a good project. And like I said, you see all these wicks up here where we really indicate that this is going to be a strong resistance point. So if we overlap our resistance and support lines with our trend lines, we can really confirm, especially right in here, we're finding a lot of support, and this reinforces the idea that this trend line, this trending support line, is very strong support, because we're seeing a lateral trend line creating a confluence with our rising support line. Now, here is where I think we're going to end up for the month. I've got really two scenarios for you. I know people really don't like the two scenario thing, but we're kind of at a crossroads at this point in time. If you look right here, we have this line that we've really flirted with quite a bit, that has gone from resistance to support, back to resistance. If we can close above this line before the 16th, where we start meeting more resistance up here, then, and we can confirm it, at least on the daily, then that sets us up to start testing this resistance zone and these other trend lines. And that'll most likely lead to us closing the month in the 90-cent range. But we have to close above this trend line before we start battling the resistance right here. So this is just going to be, this starts to get to be a really tight area of resistance, and we got to start making moves soon before we get rejected and end up just continuing to rely on the support line. So if we can close above it before the 16th, that'll set us up to test these resistance, setting us up to create all-time highs and end the month up here in the 90-cent range. Now, if we fail to break this trend line right here, we're most likely going to continue to battle the 72, 73-cent resistance line, which will push us back down to this support, and we'll just kind of ride this conservatively up for the rest of the month. So I'm still bullish on FET. I still think we're going to see upward price action, even at a worst case scenario. We won't see a breakdown, in my opinion, past the 57-cent range, just because this is shown to be really strong support. But my more conservative view on things, if we can't break that upward resistance trend that we're trying to battle right now, is we're going to end up somewhere in here, which is, you know, the low 80s, low to mid 80s is where we'll end the month. So those are my two outlooks there, really just determined by what we do in these next few days with this trend line right here. So what do you guys think about FET? If you're new here, you're going to pick some up, and if you're a long-term holder, how long are you holding? What do you think about these price targets? Obviously, in the next little bit, we're going to know if we're hitting all-time highs or if we're just setting ourselves up for some steady price ranges that are going to make for a really, really good May. Now, don't forget to give the video a like. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Follow us on Twitter. We also have our Telegram group chat where we drop daily TAs on all of our favorite coins. Next week, we're going to be doing a video on VRA, so stay tuned for that one. But until then, you guys know the deal. Keep it real and keep up the shill.